What's up, vapors? Thanks for checking out Daily Vape TV. My name is Nick, and it's that vlog time once again. That's right, it's Tuesday, September 20th, which means it's vlog day. Yes, I know I am a little bit late on this one again. However, we're going to talk about that in just a second here. But we have some very important topics to talk about tonight. Some good news, some bad news, some fun stuff, some boring stuff. But you know what? We got to talk about it, guys, because this stuff is very important. So grab your favorite vape, grab a comfy chair, sit back, relax, and let's vape. All right, guys, right at the top of the hour, we have some updates, some news, and little tidbits of information for you guys. So let's get this thing started with a bang with the Right to Vape campaign update. So let's just take a look at the website here. So far, we have raised $201,608. That is 81% of our $250,000 goal, raised by 1,163 people in just over a month. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is the Rip Trippers thing that he's got going on called the Right to Vape campaign, which is benefiting the American Vaping Association, the AVA, as well as the Right to Be Smoke-Free Coalition, which they are the ones that have the lawsuit filed right now, and they are going to be fighting the FDA in the courts. So this needs to be funded. We need to gather as much money as we can to help fund this organization here, because this is the future of vaping. This could be the determining factor of whether or not we can get these FDA regs overturned. So this needs to be funded. You don't have to give all, but you do have to give some. If you got a couple of bucks laying around, then make sure you give whatever you can. Every little bit helps. And don't forget to share this around with your friends on Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff. Talk about it, because that's how we're going to keep this train a-rolling here. But it's really great to see the fundraisers and the co-organizers for this campaign here. There's some of the top names in the industry donating what they can. But not only that, it's all about the other people, the individuals like you and myself, just trying to spread the word and donating whatever we can in order to help fight the FDA. So there you go. There's some little update video, a little update for you guys. Next on the list here is the Coil Art Notch Coils follow-up. Now, after my last week, that was the first week of the Coil Art testing of their coils. We tried out the notch coils and all the different tanks here. And so far, I mean, I'm pretty happy with them. I got to tell you, the notch coils are really great, especially in the tanks that I really love, such as the Clito, the TFV4, and the Super Tank Mini by Tobacco. All those three tanks were like really, really top notch. The Kanger tank and the UL Crown, not so much. Not really my cup of tea. However, I feel like they, had their heart in the right place. But as far as the longevity of the coils, I had a few questions on my last vlog. They did last a full week. However, I did have to change out the coils on some of my tanks here because I wanted to continue doing the testing for this week's Coil Art coils, which we'll be talking about in just a little bit here. But yeah, they lasted quite a while. Didn't notice any sort of scorching of the cotton or anything like that, any significant dry marks or any sort of thing like that. The flavor that I used is not really known to cause, darkening of your cotton or anything like that. So I inspected the coils, and just basically the areas right around the sides of the coils on the inside there were a little bit darkened up, but not too bad. I can see these coils lasting about, 25 to 50% longer than a normal coil. Now, that could be true because the wicking material that they use is a little bit higher quality, or they take a little bit more care in actually wicking their coils as opposed to, the 10,000 or whatever they crank out in a day for the normal stock coils for these tanks. So with that, I feel like it increases the longevity ever so slightly. Like I said, I did have to take them out of a couple of the tanks that I had, but I'm still rolling with the TFV4 and the Clito tank with the same liquid as I did in last week's video, which was Scruples by E-Cig Barn, or Barn Brew E-Liquid. And they're doing great. They're holding up nicely. The flavor's still on point. Really nothing has changed as far as my feelings on any of the coils that I tested out. But yeah, didn't get any significant dry hitting out of my top 3 favorite tanks. And overall, I'm pretty happy with them. So there you go. Hopefully I can kind of continue doing this kind of update thing in the beginning of the following week's vlog whenever I do these Coil Art coils. So I've got something to show you guys today, which I'll get into a little bit later on. But until then, let's move on to our next little tidbit here. My Vaping 101 series is coming up pretty soon. I'm going to get that kicked off probably I'm not saying next week because I'm not really 100% on it yet, but probably the week after I'm going to try to do that because I do have some free time. I know there's not much free time when you're a YouTuber or anything like that, but I might have some time to get a few little videos done like that. Basically, what I'm trying to do is something that's super easy to understand for beginner vapors, for newbies, and anyone that's interested in the details about vaping, like what is vaping, what's in e-liquid, what is PG-VG ratio, and how does that relate to what devices you can use, etc., 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 as well as basic hardware things like how to change a coil, how to prime a coil, how to fill up your tank, and just little basic videos like that. That's going to be a new series that I'm running on the channel, getting kicked off with a whole week's worth of videos. And to supplement those, I will be coming out with little pamphlets and little flyers with just simple little videos on it. If you guys that are shop owners or anything like that want to print them out, I will make them publicly available for you. And that way you can just kind of print them out on a sheet or whatever and just have it on your counter. And just that way, it just kind of engages your customers a little bit more by them actually scanning the QR codes on there, and that links you directly to the YouTube channel, which then if you have a smart TV in your shop, you can tell your customers they can beam it right onto the smart TV and watch it right there in the shop as they learn. So that way, I guess also if you're busy or anything like that, you can just tell them to take a look at one of my videos, and that will help them out, get their tank started, or teach them a little bit more about vaping. Just basic, simple little videos, 2 to 5 minutes that anyone can grasp. That's really my goal with this whole thing, is to not only educate, but also teach them how to use their specific device. I'm thinking about doing it with specific tanks. So for instance, I would do the coil change with an Atlantis tank, a coil change with a Cleto tank, TFV4, etc., etc., just to have that broad spectrum of different devices that you can just kind of point them in the right direction for. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Really excited about this because it's kind of branching myself out into a whole different direction. Obviously, with my Fresh Build Friday videos, that's aimed towards a specific set of vapors. And this is going to be a way for me to kind of just engage the newbie vapors, because that's really why I do what I do, is I want to educate people on the topic of vaping, which is great. So that's going to happen soon. I'm not going to promise next week, but probably the week after that, because that's kind of in between events and things like that I've got going on. But actually, that kind of brings me to my next topic, which is the CT Vapor Trail event. That's happening to benefit the Connecticut chapter of Safada. Zophie Vapes is going to be there, as well as Matt and V from Suck My Mod. That's happening this coming Sunday on September 25th. Tickets are still available if you guys want to join me. If you're in the New England area, make sure you sign up because it's going to be a fun time. Last year was a blast. I got to see and hang out with a lot of cool people. And Grim Green and Ruby Roo were there last year. So yeah, if you're going to go and, hang out with me, just drop a comment down there. I'd love to hear from you guys, see if you guys are coming. I'd love to see you all there, as many as I can. Obviously, it would have to be kind of somewhat in my area, but for that, yeah, hope to see you all there. Make sure you sign up. Tickets are still available. Links will be down there in the description. Also, another event that's coming up in my area, which is going to be Vapetoberfest. That's happening on October 1st at Occasions in Raynham, Mass. Now, this is kind of a new one. This is probably going to be a yearly thing, or they might actually make it a regular thing and call it something different for, at whatever time of the year they're doing it. But this is the first one being thrown by E-Cig Barn. They're the ones that are putting on this whole event, and everything is to benefit, I believe it is the Right to Be Smoke Free Coalition, I'm pretty sure. Information about that will be in the description below. I'm going to try to make it out to that one. I'm pretty sure it's going to be on October 1st, which is a Saturday. So if you're in the area, feel like joining me, that's where I'm going to be October 1st, so make sure you check it out. A lot of top names in the New England market are going to be there, including, I know, Beantown, Casa Daga, Blaz is going to be there as well, so make sure you come and hang out. Should be a really good time, and then you can get to meet me as well. Hey! And the last little thing I wanted to talk about today was the vlog day format change. Now, what I mean by that is it's just getting a little bit too hectic to record at my house right now. I have my roommate's kid. I have a new puppy in the house barking and people stomping around the house, and it just gets a little bit too hectic and too noisy in there to record without being interrupted every 5 seconds. So I've decided to record in my little daily Vape TV studio here instead, and this way I can record it a few days earlier, edit it on my free time, and then get these out with the full annotations and links and everything like that on the appropriate day, which is Monday. I know Grim Green is doing his Tuesday vlogs now, so I'm not trying to, you know, step on his coattails or anything. So I'm gonna try to get these out to you guys by Monday. Next week, you're probably not gonna see a vlog in this format here. You're probably gonna see something from the CT Vapor Trail event. But with that, from there on out, I'm gonna try to get these vlogs done in order as best as I can on Mondays with the full HD upload ready to go by the time I get this thing all ready to release, which is probably going to be midnight on Monday. There you go. That's the last thing I wanted to talk about. Let's go ahead and move on. All right, guys, so let's go over what I've been vaping on lately. Of course, first up is the tried and true Rig Pig. This thing pretty much hasn't left my hand since I got it. I absolutely love the series box format, especially with the build that I've had for the past like 3 weeks now, which is the fused Clapton coils using 26 cores with 38 gauge outer wire. Absolutely love this one. Really holding up nicely. The coils themselves aren't getting dirty. I haven't changed my cotton in over a week. I was vaping on the Naked E-Liquid Hawaiian Pog flavor, which kept my coils and my cotton nice and clean. Lately, I've been switching over to this Straw Melon Waterberry from Vapor Stockroom. That stuff is absolutely delicious. I really like, you know, the basic strawberry watermelon flavor it's got, and sometimes you just have to bring yourself back to that basic flavor and just vape something nice and clean and refreshing, which is what I decided to do after going through probably about 100 mils of the Pog. So vaping on this Straw Melon Waterberry right now and absolutely loving it. Let's go ahead and have a vape. And oh yeah, that is good stuff. Let me tell you, I plan on going through the entire 60 mils straight through without changing flavors. But yeah, that stuff is absolutely fantastic. Pick it up if you want. Of course, links in the description below. The next setup that I have to talk about today is the Tugboat V2 with the Kennedy 24 2-post on top. Now, I decided to put this thing on a mech mod after I saw that the coils were reading a little bit low. It's at 0.12. These are some staple alien coils that my buddy Mike made me. Thanks, Mike. He's known as PO Creations on Instagram. Make sure you give him a follow. With that being said, I've got some Redbird that I got in my Craft Vapory box on here. Awesome stuff. I love the guys from Bluebird. They usually keep me pretty stocked up on Redbird and Bluebird. And the Redbird is a strawberry cheesecake with a Frosted Flakes crust, and it is wonderful. I don't usually go for the desserty type vapes, but honestly, this one right here does it for me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the coils that I got running in here, but I used to run this exact setup, but instead of a 2-post, I had a 3-post Kennedy. But honestly, I got to tell you that the 2-post just leaves a little bit more room for not only airflow, but also wicking material and juice in the base. I usually fill this thing all up with about a mil of e-liquid, and it doesn't leak, which is why I really love the Kennedys. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving this setup right now. And even on a mechanical mod format, it's running really strong. I had it on my RX200 for a while, but you know, honestly, there's nothing much like a good old mech mod, a good trusty mech mod for you. But yeah, let's go ahead and have a vape on this one. And let me tell you, vapor production for days. That's why I really like this setup. Honestly, it just hits so nice and smooth and so clean. I absolutely love that setup. The next one I have to talk about today is the Tempest 200 watt by Council of Vapor with the Coil Art Azeroth RDTA on top. I've been running this one for the past week so I can do my review coming out soon. I will have that up this week, but this is an RDTA, which means it has the coils on top with the wicks dangling down into the tank there, and I kind of like this format. It's not my favorite out of the whole tanks, but honestly, it does kind of a little bit more justice to the flavors a little bit because you can kind of have a bit more flexibility with your coils. I've got a 7-wrap dual coil fused Clapton on here, and I absolutely love this one as well. The flavor that I've got rolling today in this one is something that's completely out of my comfort zone, which you saw in my build video on Friday, which is the OG Taco Mang. This stuff is by Save Your Vape. Thank you, Lonnie and Merriweather, for that. They sent me a huge care package with pretty much their entire lineup. But this is a Choco Taco vape. Now, I don't normally go, like I said, for the desserty vapes. I don't normally go for the chocolate vapes, but this one, for some reason, just does it for me. I'm not sure why exactly, but you get that nice milky chocolate, you get that vanilla ice cream, and a little bit of that waffle cone kind of taste in there. And on this setup, like I have it now, it's almost like you're dripping it. It's almost like you're vaping it out of your normal drip setup. However, I don't have to fill this thing every 2 seconds. That's the best part about it. Yeah, really not much else to say about this setup here. I mean, I'm vaping it right now at 100 watts. The coils on there are 0.28 ohms. And yeah, it's just one of my new favorite setups. So let's go ahead and have a vape. The reason why I like this setup so much is because you get almost the best of both worlds. You get the vapor production and the airflow out of a dripper, yet you get the ease of use and the flexibility of a tank. I can go on a drive with this thing and not have to worry about filling it or anything like that. So definitely one of my new favorite setups. And finally, I've got the triple battery RX200 here, with the variety of tanks that I've been testing out. Right now I've got the Ego 1 Mega on here, which is probably my least favorite out of the tanks, but we'll get into that in my next section, or the coil art section. But this one here is, good with, the current setup, not great. Still, I mean, the coils on it, they're okay. I mean, not my favorite. I tend to go for this tank right here, which is a Tobacco Super Tank Mini. That's kind of my preferred tank on this setup here, because I can vape it at slightly higher wattage. Right now I'm vaping this at 45 watts, and I've got some Juicy Fresh and Squeezed Fruit Vapors. This is Strawberry Peaches, again by Vapor Stockroom. Big shout out to Kevin and Ashley from Vapor Stockroom for sending me out that huge care package with all their full lineup. And yeah, absolutely loving this stuff. The flavor on it is top notch. I absolutely love this flavor. This is right up my alley. A nice, fresh, juicy kind of vape. It's nice strawberry, nice peach, good mix of both. And it's like that nice natural tasting strawberry in it, which is the part of the reason why I love it so much. So let's go ahead and have a vape on this one. So we're going to be talking a lot more about that setup and those different tanks in the coil art review section of this video, which is coming up in a little bit. But until then, we got our next section, which is going to be beer. All right, guys, it's time once again for beer time. I'm so happy to have this back. Today we've got this Dale's Pale Ale to check out. This is honestly one of the more easy drinking beers that I've ever featured on this little segment here. I've just felt like kind of going back to basics. I was getting a little bit tired of IPAs and things like that, and I wanted something that's going to be a little bit more robust and a little bit more malty for the late season here. Starting to get a little bit chilly. I mean, we're having a little bit of a hot streak this week, but honestly, it's starting to get a little bit chilly at night, so something like this really does it for me. This is by Oscar Blues Brewery. They are, out of Brevard. I believe that's Brevard, North Carolina. So something that I've kind of had a million times, but you know what? Going back to it, it kind of gives you that more appreciation for it. I will be drinking it straight out of the can, so I really can't say much as far as the aesthetics, which is our first category, the aesthetics or appearance of this beer, but I know for a fact it has a nice deep, rich amber color, and it has a nice medium head on it, which is really bubbly and very much white. It doesn't have any sort of color really to the head. This one is 6.5% alcohol by volume, which is a little on the high side for a normal like pale ale, but it's very easy drinkable, perfect for the, late night fire or something like that. Just sitting out with your friends, hanging out, vaping, and you want to just pick up a good beer to try out. Definitely give this one a shot. So let's go ahead and open her up here. Oh, yeah, I love that sound, man. Does it to me every time. It gives me the little hairs on my arm stick up. All right, so let's go ahead and have our smell of this. You know what? It has a hoppy kind of overtone, but you can really smell like the rich malts to this one. That's kind of the key word, is like that rich maltiness to this one. Absolutely love the smell. It almost has that, that dry hoppiness. It's almost like not a floral hop, but not so much a floral hop, but almost like a piney note to it, I guess. It would be the best way to describe it. So let's go ahead and have a quick taste on this one. Wow. Yeah, the taste is just like a punch in your face. It's like amazing. I know that sounds like a bad thing, but honestly, it's a really good thing in my book. You get that fresh hop, and then you get that deep malt. It's that very rich, dark kind of maltiness to it, and it's way, way on the like low end of the notes. But you kind of get it when it rolls across the back of your tongue. And whenever I taste beer, the first thing I do, obviously besides smelling it, is just kind of roll it across my tongue. And I kind of do that. That's a really good way to taste, you know, anything, really, beer, wine, spirits, anything like that. That's a great way to taste all the different little subtle hints in there. You kind of just, you make sure it touches every part of your tongue so that you get the sweet notes, the savory notes, the floral notes, everything. You want to just kind of bring all of that out in the beer itself, and that way you can kind of get a better feel for what exactly it tastes like. So let's go ahead. I'm going to have another sip here. Yeah, and it's a bit on the bubbly side. It's, you know, very effervescent, and I find that that's a good thing. It makes it a little bit more easy to drink, especially with the slightly increased alcohol percentage. Obviously, this ain't your daddy's Coors Light or anything like that. This one's going to be a little bit more of a kick in the pants, but at 6.5%, I can really see myself drinking a whole six-pack and then just being nice and mellowed out and relaxed without getting super hammered or anything like that. Honestly, the target for me whenever I drink beer is not to get drunk off my ass and stumbling around, having to take a leak every 2 seconds. Really, for me, I like to drink beer because I like the flavor. I like the taste of beer. And that's kind of why I chose, you know, craft beers, because it's just a way for me to kind of enjoy alcohol at the same time as I can enjoy flavor as well. You know, anyone can go out and pick up Pabst Blue Ribbon or Coors Light or anything like that, which is totally fine. If you want to do that, then go for it. Me personally, I like having a nice little variety, and I like getting together with like-minded friends that can trade and stuff like that. So, oh, hey, you have an IPA, I have a pale ale, let's just swap it. You know, oh, you have a stout or, you know, a sour or something like that. Let's just do a quick swap, you know. You try mine, I'll try yours. There you go. And this one right here is just a mouthful of flavor. That's why I like it so much. It's just a full-on, really rich kind of flavor. Moving on to the mouthfeel, like I said, it's very bubbly, so it has those nice little bubbles that roll across your tongue. It's not too much, but it's just enough to where it feels like a nice classic beer that you're used to. You know, kind of a basic beer, I would have to say, as far as, you know, the overall mouthfeel. Just kind of feels like a Bud Light or anything like that, which, like I said, kind of makes it more easy to drink. So another swig here. Overall, I'd have to say it's one of my top favorite pale ales. Like I said, I'm kind of not really feeling the whole IPA. It's a little bit late in the season for me as far as IPAs are concerned. And I'm moving on to something with a little bit more maltiness to it, which is going to be stuff like pale ales and stouts and things like that, which is normally what I drink in the winter time. So definitely look forward to trying more of those out in the winter, especially for you guys here, just kind of giving my 2 cents on what beers I've been drinking on. This is one, like I said, I've had a million times, but I can try it a million times more after a long IPA season and just kind of be refreshed. This is definitely like a palate cleansing beer, for me personally at least. So overall, I'd have to say a really good, easy drinking kind of bro time kind of beer. You know, sit around the fire and chit chat with your friends and just have a good time without getting wasted off your ass, but you also don't have to take a leak every 2 seconds, which is really the benefit of the 6.5% alcohol. And yeah, it's just a nice little kind of malty, kind of, I hate using the word florally. It's not really florally. It's more like a piney kind of flavor to it. But yeah, it's just a great, easy drinking beer. So cheers. Now, if I had to venture a guess at what I could pair this with, honestly, this is going to be a tricky one to pair because it's kind of in between the beers that I normally drink. It's not quite an IPA, which I can easily put something at the opposite end of the spectrum with. It's not quite a stout, which I can, you know, pair that with a more desserty flavor. It's just kind of up in the air for me. It's kind of random. and I'm not really sure what would go well with it. However, I feel like I'm gonna try the Choco Taco, the OG Taco Mang, and see if that pairs well with it. Let's give it a shot. Honestly, I gotta tell you, not the greatest pairing in the world. However, the chocolate flavor in there just kind of brings out the maltiness in the beer a little bit more, kind of subdues the whole piney aspect to it, or just kind of shuts off the hops for me personally. It really brings out the low tones in the beer, which I actually like. I like I like a lot of hops. And I like a lot of malt, but really it's that time of season where malt is kind of going to be the more important factor to me. So there you go. That was my little 2 cents on Dale's Pale Ale. I'm just going to take another swig for you guys, and we'll move on to our next section. All right, guys, it's time once again to try out some Coil Art coils. This is going to be my weekly segment until I run out of coils to try out for you guys. But this week I have the Hive wire coils. So from the best of my understanding, Hive wire is actually a pair of 28 gauge or 26 gauge twisted wires twisted together. So it's an interesting looking kind of coil. I might actually try it out for a Fresh Build Friday video. If you would be interested in something like that, drop a comment in the box below. But yeah, it's a really interesting sounding coil. I've been trying them all week and I've been really enjoying them. So just before I get started here, I do have to give a shout out to not only Paul Sullivan for selling me the TFE4 and the Kanger sub tank, but also Jay Sullivan, no relation, for giving me the Cleto tank. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Without you guys, this series wouldn't be possible. So let's dive right in, get started with these here. So the first tank I'm going to be trying out today is the Tobacco Super Tank Mini. Now, the resistance on this coil is 0.72, and it's still reading 0.72, so that's what I was getting out of this one. And right on the coil, it's written up to 75 watts. Now, I really highly doubt that anyone could be able to vape this thing at 75 watts because, honestly, I maxed out at about 45 watts without just completely destroying the flavor. I didn't even try anything over 50 watts without getting anything but like a burnt taste to it, so really not sure where they're getting this number 75 watts from, but even at the resistance that it's at now, at 45 watts, it's reading in at 5.69 volts, which is on the high side. So not sure, like I said, where they're getting their 75 watt kind of number from. Just kind of seems like they plucked it out of the thin air, but that's just me. So my notes on this coil say that the resistance seemed to be not reading correctly compared to the other tanks, which we'll talk about in a second here, but it still has the best flavor. So as you know, it remains true as with the other notch coils that I tried last week, that the flavor on this Tobacco Super Tank is out of this world. And I'm not even gonna lie, it is still true to this day. I'm getting great flavor off of this one right now. For the flavor, I rated this 6 out of 10, which is actually the best for this series here. For the vapor, 5 out of 10, and for the overall, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. So let's go ahead and have a vape off of this one. So once again, I'm vaping the Juicy Fresh and Squeezed Fruit Vapors Strawberry Peaches flavor by Vapor Stockroom, and I have been loving this testing because this flavor is out of this world. Like I said, the best flavor on this one here, and let's just, for science's sake, let's go ahead and vape this at 75 watts. I'm a little bit scared because honestly, right now it's reading in at 7.35 volts. I don't think I've ever vaped anything this high before, so let's give it a shot. All right, so I gotta tell you, I was fearing the dry hit. I'm not getting a dry hit even at 75 watts. However, it is killing the flavor severely. I'm not getting any of the strawberry flavor. I am getting the peach flavor, but honestly, for a strawberry peach flavor, I really want to see both flavors when I vape it. So not really doing it for me at 75 watts. Maybe I'll try it at like 55 or something like that. I'll get to that in the follow-up video next week. But as far as that's concerned, I tend to max it out right at about 45 watts, which is still a little bit high on the voltage side of things. I'm guessing these are single coils inside of here. I have yet to take them apart or anything like that, which again, I might get to that in a future video. But with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to our next tank. So the next one on the list is the Kanger Subtank Mini. This one reads at 0.54 ohms, and I'm vaping it at currently at 40 watts, which reads at 4.65 volts. Again, that kind of leads me to believe this is a single coil inside this tank. 40 watts seems to be the sweet spot for this one in particular. Again, it says up to 75 watts. There is absolutely no way I'm getting this one up to 75 watts without getting a terrible flavor on it. I'm very fearing the dry hit with this one. Same is true as last week's notch coils. Really fear the dry hit with this one here. I kind of attribute that to the smaller wick holes, the little wicking ports on the outside. They're a little bit smaller than the Atlantis version, so there's that. But my notes read that the wicking may be a bit of an issue. Flavor isn't bad, but only at a lower wattage, and vapor production is nothing to brag about. So for my ratings on this one, it's 4s across the board here for flavor, vapor, and overall. 4s right down the line. So let's go ahead and give this one a shot. So overall, not a terrible coil in the grand scheme of things, but nothing in comparison flavor-wise to the Supertank Mini. This one, it just feels like a lot more tighter, more restricted kind of draw to it, even more restricted so than the notch coils that I tried last week. And again, I'm fearing the dry hit. So I've cranked it up to 75 watts. Let's go ahead, and for science's sake, let's give this one a shot. So once again, I was fearing the dry hit. However, I did not get one, but that's not saying much for the flavor on this tank here. Honestly, I gotta tell you, I'm getting just barely a hint of that peach flavor, and that's about it, which really is nothing in comparison to even the Tobacco Supertank Mini at 75 watts. So, there's that. Let's go ahead and move on to our next tank. So my next tank is the Ego 1 Mega. I've got this on here, this bright orange tank that came with my Evic VT kit. I've got the coil in here, which is reading at 0.51, 0.52, 4.22 volts at 35 watts, which is what I'm vaping it at right now. Again, I really couldn't go so high with this without destroying the flavor, so let's just go ahead and give it a shot at the current wattage. So as you probably heard, it sounds like a 747 taking off, but that's kind of besides the point. The airflow on this one feels very restricted. My notes say that it has the worst flavor overall in comparison to the other tanks. The tank doesn't seat properly on the base, which I find to be a little bit troublesome, especially for my OCD. Just doesn't seat all the way down, and I don't want to crank it too hard because I don't want to mash the coil in there so I never can get it out of the chimney, because usually with the Ego 1 Mega tanks and anything similar to it, the coil itself gets stuck inside the chimney of the tank, and it's a bitch to get out. So with that being said, I didn't want to, overstress the threads or anything like that. My ratings on this one for the flavor, 2 out of 10. Pretty much the worst rating I've ever given a flavor on any tank. For the vapor production, 5 out of 10. It's not bad, but it could be a lot better. And for overall, 3 out of 10. Really not so surprised with the Ego 1 Mega. Never been a big fan of the Ego 1 Mega or the Ego coils to begin with, at least for the Mega tank here, the Ego 1 tanks. Just not a huge fan of them. The coils themselves are really, really tiny. And again, I really fear I'm going to get dry hits even at a low wattage. And I tried this at several different wattages, and I just couldn't get it to seem to wick properly at the higher wattages. Again, though, the coils say 75 watts on them. So let's go ahead and try this out at 75 watts. There we go, we got a dry hit. Yeah, not gonna happen at 75 watts, period. So my final little statement for this section is all 3 tanks I tried for this test were lackluster at best. I seriously questioned the longevity of these coils overall, since the area around the wire on the inside of the coils is black, even though the rest of the wicks are clean. So that kind of has to do with the coils themselves, not so much the juice. Usually if it's the juice that's causing a problem, it's gonna make your entire wick all gunked up and dark. This, however, is not doing that. My wicks are still nice and clean, and the area right touching the wire portion is really gunked up and dirty. I might have to just kind of inspect what's on the inside of these coils. I'm gonna probably rip them apart and maybe post up some pictures on my Facebook page or something like that when I'm done reviewing these coils, which is gonna happen probably early next week. So with that, that about does it for the coil art coil section of this video. Once again, big shout out to Kevin and Ashley from Vapor Stockroom for sending me their fresh and squeezed fruit vapors line. Really good stuff. This is a top-notch flavor, and you can definitely get good flavor if you got the right coil. So there you go. Let's go ahead and move on to our next section. All right, you guys, onto a slightly more serious topic here. This is the FDA sending out their first wave of warning letters. Now, what this means is they are first kind of going after the low-hanging fruit here. So they're kind of picking apart anyone that's directly violating the new regulations. This is their first instance of really heavy regulation, and they're mostly targeting currently convenience stores, pharmacies, and online vendors, just blatantly breaking the rules. From what I gather here, it looks like most of these rule breakings are Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act and misbranding. Now, not exactly sure what that means to me, because I'm not exactly sure what they mean by misbranding or anything like that. But I'm assuming this has to do kind of with, you know, just labeling something inappropriately, or possibly just putting out health claims or something like that. It's just kind of a broad term that they're kind of blanketing everything onto. I see a few in here that say, you know, drug product or adulterated, new drug labeling, misbranding, stuff like that, which is just kind of the, you know, the blatant rule breaking as far as the FDA's new regulations are concerned here. But yeah, if you go on the website, which I have in the description below, you can check it out for yourself. There's only a list of about probably, you know, 50 or 60 companies that are actually being targeted right now. And it doesn't seem like there's any, you know, actual vape shops, standalone brick and mortars being targeted. But you better beware, because that is going to be the future. You better believe that they're going to be coming into your shop. You better believe that they're going to be checking your signage and everything like that, making sure you're not making health claims, sending in minors and things of that nature, where if you don't card them or if you don't kick them out, and if they're not 18, then they report right back to the FDA, and they come in and they can bust you. So that is the first really heavy kind of regulation that we're seeing right now, and it's kind of a window into the future. So be prepared. You know, if you're a shop owner or a shop employee, make sure you're following the regulations to a T, because you really don't want to get your shop shut down. You really don't want an example being made out of you, and obviously all this information is going to be published on the FDA's website. I mean, I can read the list of everyone breaking the rules right now, but I really don't want to publicly shame anyone. But if you want to check it out for yourself, of course, links in the description down there. But honestly, this is just kind of the way I feel like we're going to be seeing things from here on out. This is the way we're going to be getting our information from. There's a lot of, you know, rumors and everything like that going on. But I just got to say that I feel like this could have been a lot worse. Now, this sounds really weird and ridiculous, but it could have been a lot worse. They could have just kind of came in full force and just kind of attacked all the brick and mortars all at once and everything like that. But it just doesn't seem like they're doing that much. I mean, they're kind of going and just checking out websites and things like that, making sure they're, you know, ship shape and all that. But as far as the brick and mortars are concerned, just do things by the book and you should be okay. I really don't feel like you should be in constant fear of the FDA, but just be aware. You know, obviously the ID thing is going to be the most important factor, I think, because as far as I know, a few shops have been visited by people claiming to be the FDA, and from what I gather, they're kind of going and asking them how they dispose of excess nicotine, and how do they prevent it from getting into the groundwater and things like that, and what do you do with bottles that don't sell, and things of that nature. And it just seems to me like they could be a little bit more knowledgeable about what vaping is. I mean, obviously we're not out here kind of dumping e-liquid or nicotine into the rivers or streams or anything. So I'm not sure where they're getting that sort of information from. But regardless, that just kind of goes to show how much they exactly know about what we're doing here and who we are as brick and mortar shops and everything like that. So just kind of interesting. I felt like sharing that. All right, guys. So my next topic is California's Prop 56. Now, this is a huge huge tax hike and cash grab from the state of California. So if you're out of the state, then make sure you pay attention to this part because this could be a huge deal for you guys. Obviously, I'm a little bit worried myself because the state of Massachusetts follows very closely the California kind of way of doing things. So that means to me that we could be seeing something like this in the next session in Massachusetts. So it's kind of, important. So pay attention, guys. I've got a few little facts here to tell you. So first of all, we have California's Constitution through Proposition 98 requires that schools get at least 43% of any new tax increase. Proposition 56 was purposely written to undermine our Constitution's minimum school funding guarantee, allowing special interest groups to deceptively divert at least $600 million a year from schools to health insurance companies and other wealthy special interest groups. Now, that really means a lot because obviously schools need to be funded, and that's kind of the reason they in place the Proposition 98, which is to help the schools out with any new tax increase. This tax increase here, however, they're getting $1.4 billion a year of new tax revenue, which they're not diverting a single penny to the school system. So if you have kids that go to public schools in California, you should be pissed off. The next fact is health insurance companies and wealthy special interests are behind Proposition 56. No big surprise there. It says now they are spending millions to pass it so they can get paid as much as $1 billion more for treating the very same Medi-Cal patients they already treat today. They are not required to accept more Medi-Cal patients to get this money. Instead of treating more patients, insurance companies and hospitals can increase their bottom line and more richly reward their CEOs and senior executives. In fact, the Proposition 56 spending formula gives insurance companies and other healthcare providers 82% of this new tax. Now, 82%, that is a lot of money. Obviously, that's going into the wrong pockets. So, that just does not sound like a fair thing to me personally. You're making rich people even richer, and you're not even helping, the people that might need a service such as Medi-Cal. There you go. Next up, we may have pressing problems in California. We face problems like fully funding our schools, repairing roads, solving the drought, and fighting violent crime. If we are going to raise taxes, we should be spending this new tax revenue on these problems. And yes, like I said, that, obviously California, you could always use money for schools and for roads and construction projects, creating jobs, etc., etc. And instead, you're seeing rich people getting richer and lining the pockets of big CEOs. So just don't think that's very fair, and I'm sure you guys will agree with me out there. And here we go. Instead of treating more patients, insurance companies and hospitals could use Prop 56 funds to more richly reward their CEOs and senior executives. As I just said, Prop 56 has virtually no taxpayer accountability for how health insurance companies and other providers spend the new tax money, nor are health insurance companies subject to the new audits that Prop 56 requires. They even locked into the new law a funding formula that gives themselves 82% of the new revenue. And it sounds to me like, healthcare providers and things like that, or health insurance companies, are behind this whole thing. There's got to be a big push from them behind this new proposition. Follow the money, people. Follow the money. And finally, if we are going to tax smokers another $1.4 billion per year, more should be dedicated to helping them and keeping kids from starting. Instead, most of the $1.4 billion in new taxes goes to health insurance companies and other wealthy special interests instead of where it's needed. So basically, like the past couple of facts that we covered, the money is not going in the right direction. Now, if you're a California resident, you should be ripshit right now. Honestly, you guys, if you're of voting age, which you should be if you're watching this video, make sure you go out and vote against Proposition 56. This is all on noonproposition56.com. Again, links will be provided down there below for you guys to check out if you would like. But really, you guys really need to get pissed off about this because this could be your city or your state, rather. If you're, in Montana or Idaho or Louisiana or anywhere, really, your state could easily take this model and just adapt it to your own state. So beware, follow the money, visit noonproposition56.com and check it out for yourself because this is a big deal and we need to stop, our industry from being overtaxed and even if you want to tax us, then make sure the tax money at least goes to the right people and not fat cats getting more rich. So last but not least, I did have to say that I found a few things in my little office here that I wanted to talk about, and I do apologize for not getting to you sooner, but I found a few bottles of juice that I've been meaning to talk about that were given to me at different conventions, so really just wanted to get that out in the open. So first of all, we have this bottle of Nashi that I got from Jen Eldridge. She actually designed a label for this, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. This one is a pear flavor. It's kind of like an Asian pear. It's really nice and sweet and good for you fruity vapor lovers out there. Next up, we have this bottle of Tango. This is from my buddy Adam Webster. He's just came out with his new e-liquid line. That's an orange cream cake flavor. Awesome as well. Next we have Drippy Lee. This is from my buddy JD. He just came out with this. It comes with 2 flavor shots, which I think is a really ingenious idea. You can either make it strawberry or blueberry. Really cool. As it is right now, this is just regular old pound cake, but still absolutely delicious. Next we have Frontline e-liquids, Keys to the Drop Zone. This is kind of like, this is a kiwi strawberry flavor. So I got that one at National Vape Expo, as well as the Drippy Lee and the Tango. So really good flavors there. Again, one I got at National Vape Expo, Sinking Ship Lost Soul. That one is, oh man, it's like a passion fruit, I think. Oh yeah, it's all sorts of tropical fruit. Really good stuff. This is from their throwback line. This is like an old school kind of line that they came out with. This one is Sap. This is from Geppetto, I believe. This is Geppetto's new line. Lucy actually gave me that one. Lucy from Craft Vapery. So thank you, Lucy, for that. Really do appreciate it. And last but not least, we have the Dinner Lady starter pack here. They gave me this thing. It comes in a lunchbox, which lunchbox dinner lady, not really sure there, but whatever. Really nice presentation. They won Best E-Liquid at National Vape Expo for the lemon tart flavor. I have yet to really try it. I tried it a little bit at the show, but didn't get a full-on, taste for it. So perhaps I'll be vaping these by next week. We'll have to wait and see. So anyways, guys, that about does it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this. Of course, leave me comments in the box below of any of the topics that we talked about in this video. I'd love to talk about it with you guys down there. Obviously, the discussion portion is really the most important factor for me. It really keeps me going and gives me more topics to talk about for future videos. So anyways, don't forget to check out the advocacy links I have in the description below. That's where you're going to find them. Make sure you stand up and fight for your right to vape. Give whatever you can to the Right to Vape Foundation there. Anyways, check me out on my different social medias. I have Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you follow me on there. Like my page on Facebook. Check out my Snapchat. And if you want to give me a couple of bucks on Patreon, that would be awesome as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best. I love you all. And as always, vape on.